Hey everyone, welcome back to the Peninsulas.
Hello.
Today it's not the afternoon like we usually record, so I have coffee in my cup.
Our tea is Arabica today.
Oh, yes. It's a good
Very,
one.
very, I wouldn't say very, very early, but early enough to still necessitate the caffeination process. So
Yes. It's chilly, which I shouldn't be the one saying that. It's maybe 50 degrees outside right now.
it's about 4 degrees right now. It's supposed to drop down throughout the day. Um, it's a little
Yeah.
chilly outside.
So either way, coffee is necessary.
Absolutely. Always. Every day.
Well, we thought today we would talk about how we do research for starting new ventures on our farms. I know for me, I'm always kind of overwhelmed by the idea and I'm not sure where to start. And the internet has so much information from so many different sources. So it can be a bit difficult to wade through all that and to know, first of all, who is telling the truth and who is just sugarcoating things. Um, who is reliable, who has good products versus maybe just kind of um, fly by night, seat of their pants kind of deal. Um,
Like me.
well, of course that's us, right? Because we're just starting out and we're just trying to figure out things.
Right.
We're very upfront with you guys about that. We don't know what we're doing, but we're trying to figure it out. So that's another thing to look for. So, and it can be helpful if you find somebody like that that is straight up, I've been doing this for 6 months and I have no clue, but I'm going to try it anyway. That can be helpful, right? Because you're seeing somebody kind of at the stage you are, and they're doing trial and error, kind of like we do. So that can be helpful too. So there's kind of a wide range of things you can look for. You can go for experts, you can go for just really solid data. Um, and then maybe you're like, okay, but what about somebody who can relate to me where I am? How did they start? That kind of thing. So then you can look for people. Just make sure that they're saying, they're not trying to put on this front that they've been doing this forever and they know everything about it when they've only been doing it a short while. Wouldn't you say, Shane?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think any farmer slash gardener that has been doing it forever will probably readily and happily admit that they don't know everything. So, honesty is key there. But I like research. That's my thing. So when I do research, I read as much as possible, um, whether it be Johnny's blog about seeds or whatever. Um, One thing I do look for when I'm reading just an internet source that's a blog or a random person is, like you mentioned, the amount of time they say they've been doing it. And if it aligns with other people saying they've been doing it for a long time as well. Um, I like to nitpick. So when I'm reading something and I'll read through a whole thing and be like, huh, well, that wasn't super helpful, but they had a really good point here. So I'll take that little piece of information and fit it into my own thing of whatever my idea is. I think that it's nice because more so for gardening, you can do that. Like animals are a little bit more, you have to have a certain amount of feed and each one is different, but worming, there's pretty much some consistent structure to it. Gardening, it can be so variable across the board. Um,
There's a lot of met
Another's what?
there are a lot of methods that
Right.
and a bunch of which can work depending on where you are and the weather and that. So,
Yeah, right. So I think that's nice about um, just being able to take other people's bits of information, whether they've been doing it for a month or 6 months or And I think one thing I like about reading blogs from people or articles from people who are new at stuff is they might have encountered a different idea than the person who has been doing it for 20 years in a certain way that's worked for them, and it might work better for me. When
Hmm.
it comes to animals, I'm more of a book person, and I'll read a pretty in-depth book that has been put together by some research, and then I'll read other people's blogs and information. Um, with the rabbits, which is a recent endeavor, I really did a lot of research, and I found it very difficult to find YouTube videos and blogs that really gave in-depth information. A lot of it was very much like, this is what I do and I love it and it's great and it works for me, which is nice. I'm glad it works for them, but it didn't help me learn what I needed to learn when I was making my decisions. So I found some good books about the topic of housing and why they do what they do and the reasons why you would choose to do that. And then I found a really great, very in-depth blog um, from someone that she really went into detail and she'd been doing it for a long time. And she gave me information they couldn't find anywhere else. And so it was her knowledge base of trial and error. She's been doing it for a long time. She tried several different things and it didn't work. So hers was more in depth than most of what I could find, unless it was because then you have those, pet rabbit books that are like, oh, you need all of these fancy things for them, um, which will work if you want, but that wasn't my goal. So,
Right. When you're
um,
doing research on a topic, it's really to just gather some solid information before starting out. Um, yeah, so you would want. So a couple of things. So where do you source your books? Do you buy books? Do you go to the library? What's your go-to method?
I like the library. Library is a great wealth of free books that you don't have to store in your house.
Yeah.
I like the library a lot. I also really enjoy reading the articles put out by the MSU agricultural people. So, that there are every state usually has their ag school that heads up the extension offices, and there's master gardeners, and there's a lot of information. So they also have a wealth of resources that is backed by what people like to call science. So one thing I do say about that is it's geared towards more industrial farming, obviously, or more um, commercial practices, I guess, or um, more,
Like farming on a mass scale.
yeah, a little bit more like that. But they've put in the time and effort and research that I don't have time to do, but they give information that's like solid, like, all right, well, the pH of the soil needs to be blah 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 and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Or the animals.
Even if you're just a small time backyard farmer or you just want to have a little vegetable garden, but your plants are struggling and you're not sure what's wrong with your soil, it can be a great resource. You can read the research that's been done, the papers that have been put out on soil
Mhm.
amendment, because even though they do it on a large scale, you can take the same practices and do it in your backyard. Or if you're not wanting to use commercial fertilizers and things that they recommend, just know what your pH needs to be, find out what your soil is, and then research natural methods of amending your soil. The other thing, I don't know if all extension offices for land grant universities do this in different states, but at our extension offices for the University of Florida here in my little county, if you take your soil up there to them, they will test it and they will tell you kind of the content of your soil and what needs to be changed for optimal growing. So that can be a huge resource as well if you have a local extension unit. They've just got a lot of information. And I found that here they are very just always willing to help, even the small little guy. So that can be a resource for you as well.
Yeah, I found that that's what they do because they enjoy it and they do want to help people. So
Mhm.
they're a really great place to start or keep going. Um,
Oh, and also a side note on them, as far as networking, it can be helpful too. For example, I wanted to find a nursery that sold a specific kind of tree. And they'll often have contacts like that. They know the area, they know the producers and growers in this area. And they gave me the name and number of a guy that grew that kind of tree. Um, but he doesn't advertise himself. He's just connected to the extension office. So if you're looking for goats or you're looking for a certain kind of chicken, even often they will have all kinds of resources and works in your community. They'll know who's raising that kind of chicken. They'll give you their information, things like that. So that's just an aside, but it's a way to help get started.
yeah, and it's great to know that because like I wouldn't have thought to start with them because you think okay they run 4-H and then but I'm familiar with like my sister-in-law we'll call the master gardener and he's happy to answer questions and so it's just a great place to start even if you don't want to necessarily like you said use commercial fertilizers or whatever that they want to use and there's probably people that they have contacts with that are also doing it in an alternative way that may be able to help you. And I think
Mhm.
that leaves another good resource is people in person with experience. So
Mhm.
talking to people who live in your area that do the same things. Um, I'm going to mention the probably forbidden Facebook. Um, there's a lot of Facebook groups of people who are gardeners or in a specific area.
Mhm.
And most people really want to just share their experience. And so you might get a tidbit of information that's more local to you. Or, there's that occasional person who knows how to do it 100% right. So you might get a little bit from them too. Um, and I think that just kind of building a community that's kind of going through trial and error with you will also help. The two heads are better than one when you're brainstorming about a solution to a problem. They'll
Mhm.
know a little bit more about the pests that you're commonly running into and what has worked for them, which I think with pests, trial and error is the only way.
Mhm.
So you're going to try something and someone else tried it, it's not going to work. And then you'll find something that you can help somebody else with. So just kind of being part of those groups is nice.
It's
Even
kind
if
of
you're not a big
in
poster.
yeah. Well, it's kind of in the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish just with this life in general. And what it does is if this is your mindset, then even it helps you connect with your neighbors. You know, people don't go when they move into a place, they don't go and meet their neighbors anymore. The neighbors don't come and welcome them to the neighborhood. We're just such an isolated society. But if you're a small farmer that's just moved somewhere, or you've been there a while but you've never seen your neighbors step outside their door, just go and say hello and tell them what you're trying to do. And they might not know anything about it, but they might know somebody who's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just anything that you can do to try to kind of bring a sense of community to your life and to the
Yeah.
people around you. I think it's just really in line with what we're trying to accomplish with our little farms here.
Yeah.
For example, me, I know everyone that lives on my little road here. There's not very many people. But one of my neighbors, I get most of my plants from her. She's really into this gardening. We do honeybees together. Um, Now, I knew her from before, but it's just an example of if you go and try to meet your neighbors, you might find somebody that that's just into the same things you are, or something adjacent. So, and she's been doing it way longer than me, so she's got a lot of just know-how and knowledge just from doing it, so she's a great resource. So you
Yeah.
never know who you might meet if you try to branch out in your local community.
Yeah. If you have kids joining 4-H, will give you the opportunity to go do and learn things with them that you might not have been able to do. I did 4-H as a kid, but I didn't get into some of the things that my kids are getting into in 4-H. So I'm going to be
Mhm.
learning with them because I get to go, and just you'll be able to meet people who do that, or maybe know other people who do it. I mean, there's lots of groups of passionate rabbit raisers around here, and
Mhm.
so I'll be able to get to kind of talk to them, see what they're doing. Um, yeah,
And
so I think, no, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, even if you don't have kids, there's a lot of volunteer opportunities with 4-H,
That's true.
where you as an adult can go and be like, hey, I'd like to be involved with like judging the kids' vegetable judging competition or something,
Right.
scoring their cards.
Yeah.
So if that's an opportunity for you and that's something that you feel like you could meet like-minded people there, the adults, there's still an opportunity there for us childless adults.
That's true. I have never thought about volunteering for 4-H. Um, and another thing on that note is usually the extension offices will also have classes that you can take, either for free or for a small fee. You can go and learn how to start seeds, or you can go and learn how. Obviously, we have a massive wealth of information coming at us through YouTube, and there are a lot of people who have so much good information that you can glean from. But going in person and doing it hands on, because when I watch a YouTube video, I still make a lot of really dumb mistakes because, okay,
Yeah.
well, I didn't do it hands on. And, there's the things that just pop up that don't pop up for the other person. So just going and doing like something hands on will help you, like, kind of like be able to think through, like, okay, this is probably going to happen when I'm doing it at home or whatever. So there are those classes that are pretty cool too. Um,
Yeah, I forgot that they offer classes like that.
yeah. So,
They're just a really good resource.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so that's a great resource, for those people who might have access to scientific journals. Um, those are really good too. Very boring to read for most people.
But if
But
you're on a specific mission looking for specific information, then you can usually find it fairly quickly if
yeah,
you're
yeah.
targeting something.
And like for fermenting chicken feed, everybody's like, oh, it's so much better for your chickens and blah de blah. They lay more eggs, you feed less feed, you. And I was like a little skeptical because I'm like, is that actually true? Like, chickens, as a natural diet, don't eat fermented food. Like, they just don't.
Yeah.
So I did look up some scientific articles that were targeted towards massive, chicken farms where they were like, hey, we're going to test this and see. And I found them. And it is true they eat less feed. And don't think they said there was a whole significant difference between how many eggs they laid. But obviously, significance in science is a little meh. But yeah, so I did find information on it, and it was helpful in making my decision whether I wanted to try that or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing too, I was going to go back to trying to find reliable sources on the internet. Um, but one thing that can help you know whether or not they're reliable is just go ahead and reach out to them if they have a website, or an email or something. Just go ahead and reach out to them, and anybody who is legit will be able to answer your questions, will want to help you, talk to you, and that can help you know whether or not they're a good source of information.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that's true. Good idea. Make sure they're a real person,
Yeah, but
not
I
an
would
AI.
start with a notebook, your farm notebook. And I've done okay. I I'm obsessed with notebooks, and I have
It's
so
only
many.
because you like to buy them.
Yes, I have so many that I've never even used, and I always want to buy more. But I I started out on this venture with having one for one for the garden, one for the bees, one for whatever else I was doing. And I found that it didn't work because I never had the notebook in my hand that I needed for that information when I needed it. Uh, so I found that one notebook for the whole operation is best, and then you can flip back through and say, okay, here I was talking about bees or whatever. Um, so I would say get a dedicated farm notebook that you put all your information in. It'll all be in one place. Doesn't matter if it's not related stuff. Um, and then from there, just kind of, you know, go to the library, go to your local extension office, go online, and that's a good place to start.
Yeah. And that leads us with our last great resource for information, which would be your experience. So, your experience is not negligible. Like what you did last year is going to teach you what to do next year. With gardening, that is, I think it's always it's across the board. Every year is going to teach you something, but I know with animals it's a little different because their lives depend on you knowing what you're doing when you're going in. But I think that you have to have grace for yourself. You're going to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not always going to be perfect or pretty, and accidents will happen and things are going to, but your experience is also going to be a wealth of information
Yeah.
for someone else too. Eventually, hopefully that's what we're going to be able to provide all of you as we go through this adventure, is just kind of some helpful information.
Mm-hmm. And two, no matter how much research you do, there will just always come a point where you just have to try it. And it's good to arm yourself with information and have kind of a knowledge of what you're going to do and how it's going to look like. But once you start doing it, that's going to be your ultimate source of information because, um, all the research in the world can't prepare you for the actual thing.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing because just jumping out there and doing it, um, taking that step, it moves you forward. And that's, you always get to that point where the research ends and you just have to try it. And from there, you can just take off.
Yep. And then you'll also be able to apply the research better as well. Like our brains always think that we're going to do something so well, and then we're doing it in our body. They're like, oh, I can't.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, plant a potato and
Mm-hmm.
watch it grow, those sorts of things. So,
Yep. All
well,
right. Well, my coffee's gone.
yeah, I need to refill. So,
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to take on this very chilly day and do the chores.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
thanks for joining us, and hopefully we helped you maybe find out about some resources that you didn't know about in your research progress journey.
Yeah. And we'll catch you next time on the peninsulas.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.